Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Don't Be a Man About It. Today, my guest is one of the closest to my heart because of his story. When I first listened to his story that was shared by a very good friend, Spencer Lodge, I thought to myself that I was so happy that he was alive and that he's here and that his story turned out to be one of the stories that will leave a good impact around the world. So I thought, why not get him on the show to share his story and to share his learnings and how he's making this world a safer place for mental health, for men, and for every person struggling with suicide thoughts. Kevin Hines, suicide prevention activist, is with me here today, and I'm really so honored to have you with me here, Kevin. So, hi.
Thank you. Nice to be here with you as well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, Kevin, before we dig into talking about who you are and what you actually do, I want to ask you something.
Sure, go ahead.
How is your heart doing today?
My heart is full. I'm happy. I'm well mentally. It's been a long and arduous journey of struggle and strife to get to today. I live with bipolar disorder, and I still have all the symptoms I've ever had, but I'm able to control them and manage them in a way that is sufficient and effective. And my heart is absolutely full.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. So, Kevin, for those who don't know, in 2000, in year 2000, you attempted to take your own life and you survived it. And ever since that year, now you're an activist and you raise awareness on suicide prevention and you take your story to leave an impact.
That's right. In the year 2000, I attempted to take my life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, a method of attempt that is nearly 100% fatal. Only 34 people in 85 years of that bridge being open have survived that fall. 26 remain alive today. Many have died of natural causes. 19 have come forward, like I have, to say they all had instant regret the moment they left the rail, and this wish that they could go back and save themselves from jumping. Only 5 of us get the privilege to stand, walk, and run. We are called the most exclusive survivors club in the world. There's a book of the same name by Ben Sherwood. So we're making a point here. I get to be here, and getting to be here is a privilege and a gift, no matter the pain someone might be in. So I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so glad I didn't die that day. I'm so glad that I survived, and I'm glad to be here with you.
In all honesty, I'm grateful for that too. I lost my dad to suicide 10 years ago. I attempted suicide 3 times and I went blind for 4 days after the third one. That was my wake up call. So when I hear stories like yours, Kevin, it really brings so much gratitude. I don't want to say joy, because joy, I don't think it would be the right word, but gratitude that you were chosen for a calling and to end the pain in a different way.
That's right. The way I stop the pain today is by hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work for my mental health and well-being. And if we can learn to recognize that our pain is inevitable, it's coming for all of us if it hasn't already, but suffering is optional, it's a choice. All our clinicians tell us, they say, you're suffering from this and you're suffering from that. They told me, Kevin, you're suffering from bipolar disorder, you're suffering from depression, you're suffering from mental illness. And I adopted that narrative, and that narrative became my own
Reality.
But by saying that I was a sufferer, I then became the victim of my own story. It wasn't until I recognized that the pain was coming, but I have to fight it. That meant that I lived, battled, fought, and thrived despite of my disorder, which meant I became the hero of my own story, never to become the sufferer again. So I left that narrative behind, and I focused on the idea that I've never suffered a day in my life, even though I was born in squalor and a crack motel. I have lived a beautiful life. I've been given a second chance at it, and I need to make the most of that second chance by helping other people.
That's beautiful. So, Kevin, what has changed ever since the incident till now? How are you I know that you're helping people, but personally, on a personal level, because having also a bipolar disorder makes things a bit more challenging.
Sure.
Would you like to share that? How are you keeping yourself balanced? How do you not think of suicide again? These kind of therapy and healing techniques that you're practicing.
Well, to be fair, it's not that I don't think about it anymore, because I still have suicidal thoughts that plague me, but I'll never attempt to take my life, because I have now a routine and a regimen that I call the art of wellness that I utilize to stay stable. So I use 10 steps to stabilize my brain, mind, behavioral, mental, physical health, and well-being. And I share these steps with people all around the world, as far as Peru, Africa, China, Japan, all across Europe, all across America. And people are saying that by following these steps within a 6 to 9 month period, they're seeing a dramatic improvement in their mental health and well-being, because these steps are science-backed, evidence-informed, and proven common sense tools to better brain health. Rather than me rattle them all off, it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com/Kevin Hines. You type in the search bar, The Art of Wellness 2.0 and plus Kevin Hines, and you'll find a video that has 10 steps that are easily laid out in a common sense fashion, that are simple and clean to implement into your daily life. And if you implement these into your daily life, you will see a change within those 6 to 9 months, because
So
it's
mind if you share maybe 2 steps?
Of course, I would love to. Absolutely. So I'll share with you the 3 E's of the plan: education, exercise, and eating healthily. So education is twofold: educating yourself as to your diagnosis, so you know the reputable, proven forms of treatment to battle it; educating the loved ones you have and your peers, friends, and colleagues, so that they know how to treat you when you're going through a hard time.
Yeah.
So that's education. Exercise: if you're physically capable, getting down to the ground, getting to work, 23 minutes of rigorous exercise leads to 12 hours of better mood. Do that twice a day, that's 24 hours of better mood. Who doesn't want that? And then you have eating healthily. This can be different things for different people, but the basic idea is non-inflammatory foods versus inflammatory foods. Inflammatory foods affect the way you think, act, and feel. Inflammatory foods affect your gut biomes, that affect your brain functionality. Inflammatory foods can cause aggression, anger, mania, depression, violence, all of these things. But if you're eating non-inflammatory foods, you're better balancing your brain health and your gut health, and your gut health is positive as opposed to being poor. So those are 3 E's of the 10-step regimen. And then if you can find the rest of the 10 steps at youtube.com/Kevin Hines, which also, by the way, has 500 plus videos, all designed to help you change your life mentally.
It's amazing how just by following simple steps can make a huge impact in your life, and the way your lifestyle would change, the way you see things, the way you feel about things would just change by doing these small minor adjustments. That's beautiful. So what you've dropped a visit recently to the bridge.
I did, yeah.
How did that feel? Was that your first visit after the attempt?
No, I've been many times. What a lot of people don't know is that when I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, a sea lion came to my aid and kept me afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind me. A sea lion. Literally no human being helped me that day, but a sea lion, a sea creature, came to my aid and kept me buoyant until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind me. And my father took me to the bridge a year to the date of my attempt, a year later, to the date of my attempt, to the time of my attempt, 10 in the morning. And he brought me to the Golden Gate Bridge to drop a flower off the bridge and to say a prayer and say, thank you for being alive. And we dropped this flower off the bridge, and it wafted down very slowly. It hit the water, made the tiniest of ripple effects, and 2 feet to the right popped up a sea lion. And it was arguably the most beautiful moment I've ever spent with my dad, besides him being the best man at my wedding. It was a beautiful moment had by us. I'm so lucky to be alive. So I've gone back to the bridge many times. But this recent time that you're talking about, that you saw online, we went to go meet the iron workers, the people that are building the net right now that we fought for 20 years. we got to meet the iron workers and see the work they're doing to build a net to stop the suicides at the Golden Gate Bridge effectively as of 2023. Not one more beautiful soul will ever again die off the Golden Gate Bridge, and it will become the largest and brightest and most powerful beacon for suicide prevention all around the world. Reduction of access to lethal means does save lives. It's one of the only proven ways to stop suicide. And the bridge net will be done by 2023 because it is a 360,000 square foot bridge. So it takes a lot of time, but it's going to be amazing.
Amen to that. Amen to that. One of the things that I used to, I don't want to say hate because hate is a big word, but when I was going through my depression, a lot of people would come to say with good intentions, things like, I know how you feel. Or other people have it worse, just be grateful for what you have. Stay positive, man up or women up. What can people say instead to someone having depression or suicide thoughts? I'm pretty sure you do work with that area.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
how can someone support a suicidal person?
Yeah, I mean, all the things you mentioned, they're judgmental, aren't they? They're ways to judge someone. Oh, someone else has got it.
Coming of lack of awareness, or just this is our culture?
It's not purposeful. It's a lack of awareness. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural bias. You know, oh, you know, it's not that bad. Oh, I understand where you're coming from. Or, you know, more other people have it worse than you do. Everything that happens to us, as in the collective us, if it's hard for the one person, it's hard for the one person. That doesn't make somebody else's plight better or worse than yours. It can be the same in each eye. It's just different. It's just different. And so what we want people to say who are the loved ones of someone going through mental struggle is, I've got your back. I'm here for you. Tell me whatever you're going through. I'll listen intently. I'll be here to guide you. I'm not going to judge you. I'm only here to empathize with you. I'm here to guide you to help healing and recovery. Instead, you get people who say, snap out of it, move on, get over it. It's all in your head. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. What is wrong with you? And we need to shift that narrative into someone that says, I've got you. Tell me everything you're going through. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen intently, not to interrupt, but only to understand.
Yeah. Suicide is a more complex than just a decision. You don't wake up one day and tell yourself, you know what, today I'm just going to go and kill myself. It's like a burnout that is piling up for years and years and years, and not the burnout that you get out of a job. It's the emotional burnout. It's the spiritual burnout. Everything seems to be shutting down. So how could someone passing through to explain to people that this is not just a decision I've made, this is me being tired all these years? Is there anything that could avoid that situation, avoid that from both ends, the person going through that and people around them? So you mentioned that your steps are being shared by people around you. So that would give them the tools to also not only practice those steps, but also to see how Kevin is practicing. So in that area.
Yeah. So that's where it comes down to education. So for example, I have bipolar disorder. So I got everyone in my family the book, Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder by Julie A. Fast. And when the people who read it, they came back to me and they said, now I understand what we were going through and why you behaved the way you did. I'm not judging you anymore. I'm empathizing with you. So it was a matter of education. So that awareness only comes when you teach people things and you help them understand that it's not quite that simple, that it's all in my head. You're right, it's in my head, it's in my brain, but the brain is the single most powerful organ you wield. It's mostly on automatic mode, and it controls every action and inaction you take, every decision and indecision. For lack of a better term, if your brain is malfunctioning, there goes the rest of you. And so expressing that to the people who love you is really important, but also for yourself, learning the tools and the techniques to better balance your brain health is crucial for you to survive your pain every single time. If you said it earlier, if you can have gratitude inside your pain, you can survive it to become resilient. Gratitude and resilience are two of the most protective factors against suicide. So if you can have gratitude, you can be resilient, and you can always survive.
That's true. Yes. Kevin, how, maybe I would, if with your permission, if I could take you a bit back to the rock bottom. What was the rock bottom for you? What made you decide that, you know what, I've had it?
Well, and to answer your previous question, it wasn't quite a decision like one would decide to have a slice of pizza, or one would decide to go to get a certain job. It was more of a compulsion. I was compelled to take my life by voices in my head, auditory hallucinations telling me I had to die. Imagine you're hearing voices in your head that are not that of your conscience, that you don't recognize as anybody you know or love, that doesn't sound like yourself. It's just a third-party voice screaming in your head things that you have to do that you don't want to. That's where I was in my life. That was when I hit rock bottom. It was hearing voices telling me that I had to die, that I had no option, that I had no choice. Wish I knew those voices were liars. Suicidal ideations are the greatest liars we know. They tell us what they want us to hear, and they lead us to our demise, but they don't have to. The point I'm making is this: if you can recognize that your thoughts don't have to become your actions, then they never have to lead to suicide in the first place, or an attempt. If your thoughts don't have to become your actions, they can just be your thoughts, then they don't have to own, rule, and define what you do next. It's very important to understand how to approve or disapprove of your own personal thoughts so that you can go on a positive path. Think about it like this: if all of our thoughts became our actions, how many of us would be in jail right now for road rage?
Oh, wow.
You know, think about it. There'd be a lot of us in big, big trouble, right? So if we can recognize that in suicidal crisis through self-awareness techniques, we can always stay here. I have lived 20 years with suicidal ideations, never attempting again, because I know that my thoughts don't have to become my actions.
And I'm so happy that you are that person today, Kevin. I know how much this means to you. And the fact that you also are living with the bipolar disorder, and yet you choose this kind of lifestyle and giving away to the community, or giving back to the community, paying it forward, raising awareness, showing up as your best version every day means the world. So thank you.
You bet.
I know that you have to run in a few minutes, so I just want to also acknowledge your effort and time here. So what are you up to? Well,
a few things. We're making a film called The Net about the putting up of the Golden Gate Bridge net and the history that's being made there. We made a documentary called Suicide: The Ripple Effect. That film has been out around the world, and right now my second book just came out with co-author Jesse Cohen about his life story called The Third Rail. And this book is phenomenal. It is a 2-hour read. You'll knock it out in 2 hours. It's a bit of a thriller. Jesse Cohen lived with severe bipolar disorder. He stayed on the manic side of things. And the book is called The Third Rail: In My Mania, I Became. It's his autobiography, which I help him write. And it is about the story of this young 1990s Tulane law student in his 20s back in the day, in the height of the crime era in Louisiana, during the height of the mafia era. And he became, in his mania, he became a vigilante. He would go out at night, almost like Batman would, with no superpowers. And he would go out and he would stop crimes before they happened. He would listen to a police scanner, and he would go out, and he thought it was his duty to help the public that was being tormented by these criminals. It got him in a lot of trouble, got him into jail, got him in and out of psych wards. But it is a phenomenal story of and a legacy of Jesse Cohen. Tragically, Jesse, may he rest in peace, lost his battle to bipolar disorder. He lost his life to suicide before we could publish the book. I finished the book with his amazing and lovely wife, Mari. And we finished the book together, and it is something that is a must read, because it just goes to show you what it's like to live inside the bipolar mind. As Jesse says, it's like a hurricane, always ever present. But this book is meaningful. It is the legacy of Jesse Cohen, as described in the book. We call him Jesse Hunter, or Jake Hunter, pardon me. And you can find the book at the number 3 RDRAILBOOK.com, the thirdrailbook.com, just using the number 3 instead of the word.
Links. We'll share the links.
Yeah. It's, writing this book with Jesse was an amazing journey. It was a tough journey because he would become manic sometimes, and it was hard to deal with. But the one thing that I regret is just losing Jesse this way. We tried so hard to save him, and we lost him anyway. And so many people around the world understand that feeling. I've lost now 11 people I love to suicide, and that's 11 people too many. One person is one person too many. So if we can help this book, The Third Rail, save a life, then that is our goal. If this book can turn somebody's life around, Jesse writes a beautiful introduction in the book about staying alive and fighting the pain. Even though he lost his life to suicide, nobody else has to,
May his soul rest in peace. And I'm so sorry for your loss, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And of course, anything you need, how can I help? How can I support? I'm one message away. So you mentioned something as you became your own hero at the beginning, and I can see a lot of heroes behind you. Who's your favorite one?
Well, my favorite one is up here, Deadpool.
Oh, Deadpool, mine too.
Favorite one is Deadpool. I've got him right here.
Ah, there you go. I love it. I love it. I just had to ask.
And I'll tell you, there's a reason for that.
Deadpool
was born in pain, and so was I. Deadpool's attempted suicide, and so have I. Deadpool fights his pain every day, and so do I. And so I really relate to that character, Rob Liefeld's character, Deadpool. Yeah.
And Deadpool has a very loving and supporting wife, and so do you.
Yes, he does, and yes, I do. Thank you. Good point. That's right. You can't miss that.
Kevin, thank you so much for being here. Any message, very specific message for men listening to this?
Here, I'll give you some words of wisdom, men out there. Start to be vulnerable in your pain. Tell the truth about your pain, whatever you're going through, because a pain shared is a pain halved. Don't walk this path alone. People will care about you if you ask them to. Be open, be honest, be vulnerable, be truthful, and help it change your life.
Amen. Thank you, and see you next week in a new episode. Thank you for listening.